So good morning, my friends. It's me once again, Elauje, and thank you for watching this video, coming to my channel once again. I hope you're enjoying the content so far. If you are, please don't forget to subscribe and share. You could also like the video, it will do us well. So, I promised a video on Ruth, and this is that video. I'm going to be doing a summary of the book of Ruth and my insights on that passage. So, I think the book of Ruth is basically speaking of relationships and how we manage relationships. Not necessarily just a relationship between a daughter-in-law and a mother-in-law, which is a really controversial one in all parts of the world, yeah. Um, but relationships with humans and everybody around us in general. So, like I always say, if relationships didn't matter, God will take us to heaven immediately we are born again. But you see, we are here for someone else. Yeah, we are here for someone else. And that's why God is keeping us here. It's the relationships that matter. And so today I would like us to learn from Ruth and Naomi and Boaz. So the first thing I would want us to talk about is how Naomi came to, in chapter 1, we see how Naomi came to the land of Moab and how she lost her husband and her two sons. They actually left Israel, they jackpot for greener pastures, and I think they had it good at a point in that land, but then again things began to turn around at Moab. And Naomi heard that God had visited the children of Israel, and so she decided to go back. That is after the loss of her husband and two sons. Unfortunately, her sons did not have children, so she really didn't have anything to go back with. She was going back empty. And she decided to let go of her daughter-in-laws because she had told them that, look, I heard God has visited my people, so I'm going to be going back there. And at that time, the people of Moab were suffering from famine. So my take is, why would she not invite them over to her place where God has remembered them? You know, I think we should not let go of any opportunity to invite people to enjoy the grace of God that we are enjoying. It's like saying, look, I'm a Christian, it's working well for me, but I know you're not a Christian, so I would want us to split ways at this point. I think we should take every opportunity to invite people to enjoy the grace of God that we are beneficiaries of. So that is one point. And then going to as we proceed, I think in chapter 2 we see how of course Ruth and Naomi get to Israel, and that is after, of course, Ruth insisted that she would follow Naomi, and we know that it must have been a mutual relationship where Naomi had been really good to Ruth, and Ruth said, no, I won't leave this old woman by herself, and Ruth followed through. So even though it was a really noble thing for Ruth to do, I think Naomi also had a part to play by first being a nice person to her and treating her well from the word go. So even Oprah, the other wife too, wanted to stay, but of course everybody doesn't have the same grace. You can't fault her for finally leaving, because Ruth, in Ruth's case, she threw caution to the ground, and was like, I don't care what my future holds, but I'm going to make sure you're fine. Probably she just felt like if my husband was here, I know he would want this, so I'm going with you, and I won't, leave you alone. So I think it was really noble of her. But on the other hand, I know that Naomi must have been a really nice person, because sometimes people just don't like old people, because most times old people can be really bitter and not nice to be around. So it's important for us to note that Naomi must have been a friendly person and a nice to be with person. And then again, we now see how Ruth meets with Boaz in the farm, and he took notice of her. He must have noticed her because she was different from the others. And I noticed he referred to her as a virtuous woman. He said, virtuous woman, I've heard of you. And it's really got me, yeah, because I've read the book of Ruth many times, but I haven't really, taken notice of the fact that Ruth was referred to as a virtuous woman. Honestly, I want to say, when referring to the virtuous woman, I always think of the Proverbs 31 woman. And I know that as a young lady, now I don't know if you would refer to this as gospel, but this is my experience. As a young lady, I had always wanted to be referred to as a virtuous woman. I strived to become a virtuous woman, and so when I got married, my goal in life was to be a virtuous woman, and I was so hoping to my husband, praising me at the gate, or being praised at the gates, or because of me, and also my children calling me blessed. And those were the two things I was looking out for as validation, and it meant so much to me to receive those two validations of being a virtuous woman. And so I would do everything on that list. I would go to faraway markets. I would never enter a supermarket to shop. I would always go to where they sell wholesale. I would go to far markets. If any of you here lives in Abuja, you would know, or you would have heard of Orange Market. I would leave my house all the way to Orange Market to buy things from the Orange Market. Is like a farmer's market, so you'd actually get things cheaper, but they are not refined, So I would go all that way. I would stress myself, and then it actually started telling on my health. And one day, I don't know if it's I wouldn't say it's God that opened my eyes to it, but I went to the market, I came back, and I looked at everything I had bought, and I inquired the price of those things in the nearby markets, and I found out at the end of the day it was penny wise, pound foolish, because the money I had spent on fueling the car and all the stress I had to pay money at the market for ground, they call it ground. I had to pay mega fees at the gate. And at the end of the day, I was like, so why did I go through all the stress? And then I decided, you know what, no more farm markets. Sorry to discourage you if you like farm markets. It's not wrong to like farm markets, but I opted out of farm markets, and I was like, you know what, I don't want to, if this is what it means to be a virtuous woman, I don't want to be a virtuous woman again. And then I started reading the story of the virtuous woman, trying to come to, terms with not being a virtuous woman. And then I started consoling myself. You see, this issue of a virtuous woman, it's even a fictitious expectation of a mother for her son. And I relieved myself of the burdens of being a virtuous woman. Like, you know what? Even the woman that was speaking is not a virtuous woman. She did not have so many businesses. She did not bring so much money. I mean, if she did all these things, what did her husband do? So I relieved myself of the duties of a virtuous woman. Now, this is not gospel. I'm not saying you should do what I did. I'm just telling you how I consoled myself, with the fact that the woman who was saying it was just wishing, and she said a virtuous woman who can find. So yeah, maybe we've not yet found it, but maybe unfortunately for me, I just found it that Ruth was a virtuous woman. And so yes, she's not fictitious anymore. I have to deal with it and come to terms with it. And so I dug deeper. What actually made Ruth a virtuous woman? And God opened my eyes to, or I took a critical look at it, or let me not use the word God opened my eyes to. I took a critical look at it and I found out that Ruth was referred to as a virtuous woman majorly because of the support that people saw her give her mother-in-law. Now she put herself in a position to serve the old woman. She wasn't afraid of being used. And I think that is what we should all take to heart when it comes to building a relationship. We shouldn't be afraid to be used. When you enter a relationship and you have it at the back of your mind that, look, let me tread with caution so that I will not be used. These people should not use me. I should not become like in Nigerian term, we say mumu in their eyes, And then you try to make sure that you protect yourself from being used. That relationship will not work. It will not work. We have to put ourselves in a position of service. And that means that you should be allowed yourself to be used. Why? Because that is when you gain value. You cannot be valued if you're not useful. It is only useful people that have high value. If you're missing and nobody misses you, then you don't have value. And the only way you can have value is if these people find you useful. And the only way they can find you useful is when you are used. Now, when I say used, people feel like, why would I allow someone use me? Because of the way it sounds derogatory. But I can't say it another way. Put yourself in a position to be useful means that people will use you. Doesn't mean they would take advantage of you. Yes, we may find ourselves in a situation where we are being taken advantage of, but then it's in our power to control those situations by the grace of God. By the grace of God. And remember, the person we are following is Jesus Christ. And what did he say? He says when we are being slapped, we should turn the other cheek. Turning the other cheek means don't try to run away from being used. Still open yourself to service. Now, I'm not promising you that you will not die because Jesus died. Yeah, he died turning the other cheek. So you could die too, but that is love. That's what love does. That's what love does. And I know that this is not the message that is being preached these days. And a lot of people may not agree with me. They'll probably give me a thumbs down. But that's what love is. And that's the foundation of every relationship. Well, Ruth ended up doing something after her mother-in-law directed her to the way of Boaz. She went and crept into where he was lying that night and removed the cover from his legs and covered her legs with it. In other words, she went to his secret place to sleep. And I think that was really venturing. It's not what a regular lady will do. That's why Boaz was like, quickly, quickly go, don't let anybody see you here. And what does that tell us? For me, it's just says a woman's got to do what a woman's got to do. Don't be afraid to venture. If you have to do something, take the risk and do it. You know, sometimes we have to do things that people will tag us as, what the hell is that? What did she do? She's vain, she's this. We may have to take some decisions to do some things that are not culturally acceptable, but if we know we have to, it's something we have to do, then please venture and do it. I'm not encouraging you to go and do any immoral acts or to sin against God, but please venture. Go against the norm sometimes. Venture and make sure that you're led by the Spirit. Make sure you're led by the Spirit, because if the Spirit says go, you go and venture. And we see that Ruth did what she had to do, and she was redeemed by a nobleman, the nobleman Boaz. And one thing that strikes me about Boaz is he was an elderly man. This means he either had other wives or was a widower. We didn't hear anything about that, but the fact that he was elderly points to the fact that he probably has been married before or not. Yeah, but I would want to believe that he was at a point. But we see that Ruth was the one that God used to put his name on the stamp. Yeah. So for me, I think that we should always be open to the leading of the Holy Spirit. We should always tilt to the side of love. We should not be afraid of opening ourselves to serve someone, so much so that we lose our identity for those people. Because in that, we'll find our value. And in ways that we didn't even expect, we'll get our crown. Thank you very much for listening. I hope this video makes sense. I hope that you've been blessed, and I pray that we will all become the virtuous woman, just like Ruth, by giving ourselves to love and serve boundlessly. Serve the people God have placed in our lives, whether it be our husbands, our children, our mother-in-law, our brothers-in-laws, sisters-in-laws, our neighbors, everyone around us. We should serve. The ones that have hurt us, the ones that have not, we should serve with love, wholeheartedly. That's why we're here. That's why you're here. Yeah. I had an uncle who would always respond, "That's why we're here," when you tell him thank you for anything he did for you. He'll say, "That's why we're here." Yeah, blessed memories. So, thank you for watching this video, and share if it makes sense. Put your contributions down at the comment section so that I too could learn. Yeah, we are learning every day. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.